And notice the spotters in this video. There are 2 spotters, one behind and one to one side of the bench. That is the recipe for disaster.
Oh,
Kirk!
No.
He's now 3 steps behind. Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going to be going over exactly what transpired that led to Mike getting injured during that devastating bench press with 585 pounds.
Oh, fuck!
Hindsight is 2020, and in watching the video that the Tren twins just put out, there are several things that Mikey could have done that could have prevented this unfortunate accident. Mikey explains this in detail, so we're going to watch the video, go over it, and see what we can learn from the Tren twins.
So how does one prepare thyself for such an endeavor of benching 600 pounds? The last few days, I've never eaten the way I've eaten.
And so in preparing for this monumental occasion, both of which trying to set lifetime PRs in the bench press, they've been eating more food than ever before. The more you eat, the larger you're going to get. And last I checked, mass does in fact move mass. If you can consume more calories and get your weight up, it is in fact going to be a lot easier to lift heavier weights. And remember, everyone knows that I'm not a fan of this bulking up in order to lift a lot of weights, getting all that sugar, the calories and so on. I'm simply not a fan of that. Now, remember, this is just my opinion. Just because I'm against doing these things doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. Strongmen competitors, powerlifters, bodybuilders and so on often go through an enormous amount of calories in order to put on as much body weight as humanly possible. And in doing so, they do in fact lift more weight. Now remember, when you gain a lot of weight very quickly, in particular after doing a bodybuilding competition, your strength is going to go through the roof, and that it did. The Tren twins, both of them, both Mike and Chris, were getting stronger than ever before. Following a competition, it's very dangerous to get this much stronger this quickly. Your tendons, ligaments, and so on, they take a lot longer to catch up to the strength of the muscle. Even if you do in fact get stronger, sometimes it's best to not go for a 1-rep max. Rather than bench pressing 585 pounds, better to, for example, bench press 495 pounds for 8 reps. The lighter the weight, the safer it's going to be, and there's going to be plenty of time to go for that 1-rep max, for example, in competition.
Number 2, car ride to the gym. One of the most important parts.
Driving to the gym, it's great to get amped up. You're revving the engine, you're feeling the speed. You might in fact have a Coach Greg video playing in the background. Coach Greg yapping, carrying on, screaming at you. Oftentimes, that is all the pre-workout that you need.
Stars gotta align. Let's be honest. All right, hitting a PR takes months of dedication.
To hit a bench press PR like this, the stars got to align, and I do in fact agree with that. You need a training period where everything seems to go in order. You don't get injured, you're feeling good, you're gaining weight, your digestion's in order, and so week after week, you seem to be progressing upwards. From what he was experienced to this point, it seemed to be going very well. His weight was going up, his strength was going up, everything seemed to be in order. But was it? Was it really? Was he experiencing some minor pains, some minor inconveniences, some potential setbacks that he chose to ignore? Was he doing all the work, the stretching, the rehabilitation, the massage therapy?
Like this motherfucker about to bench 600, I feel that spiritual pressure when you walk in type shit.
Chris is talking about the spiritual pressure to bench press 600. The goal was 585. When you set a PR, the PR only needs to be by 1 pound. If you set a PR by 1 pound, it's a PR. Yeah, I get it. It's fun. The dopamine is at a high point. But if you set a PR, even if it's by 1 pound, let's call it 5. That is all you need. And so if your max bench press was, for example, 555, a confident PR would be to go and hit 560. Remember, in your entire lifetime, you're only going to be able to hit so many PRs. And if you're breaking PRs by 20 or 30 pounds, how many times can you do that? 3, maybe 4? And so why not stretch those PRs out? Perhaps have a 1 pound PR, but do it 10 times in a year. Rather than saying, I'm going to bench press 585, perhaps even 600, why not wait? Wait months down the road. Hit the 550, 555, 560, 565, and so on. Take your time. Remember, you can lighten the load, set PRs. For example, he could have lightened the load, hit 495 for 6 reps, and kept hitting PRs with lighter weights than last time.
It's the 50 milligrams of D-bol, Mike, you took before this.
I didn't take 50 milligrams.
We have no idea what his actual dosage is. Was it 50 milligrams? Was it 10 milligrams? Was it 5 milligrams? Or was it nothing? But regardless of that, if you are in fact using and or abusing performance-enhancing drugs, please remember that it makes it even that much more dangerous. The chances of getting injured are far greater when you're on steroids than when you're not. Some people, they assume steroids to help you recover that much quicker. You're able to recover and you can withstand any kind of training. It's not true. Although you recover quicker, you're also increasing your risk of injury. And so please be careful.
This is like adrenaline in a bottle, bro.
Now, one more thing. Please be careful when using pre-workouts. Oftentimes, younger people will take more pre-workout than last time. There's a maximum dose on the container for a reason. Please don't double the dose. We've seen people dry scooping more pre-workout than last time. And if you take too much pre-workout, you might be so amped up that you're willing to go to level 4. Now remember, if you haven't seen that video, Mike Israetel, he displays the 3 different levels. Level 1, 2, and 3. And to this day, we now know there is a level 4. Scientists and researchers have seen the 4 levels of training. And at level 4, I warned you, it's very dangerous. I've shown various people who've gone to level 4. I've been to level 4. It's very dangerous. It's not something you do every single year. For example, Jeff Nippert has never been to level 4, rarely gets to even level 3. And so clearly in this instance, Mike was ready to go to level 4. He attempted to go there, and this was the result. If you don't know the various levels of intensity, please watch a video on Mike Israetel. He demonstrates unequivocally what the various intensities look like, level 1, 2, 3, and 4.
See, motherfuckers don't realize, like, part of a big bench is you gotta have a big back to stabilize all that weight.
And so to have a big bench, it's not just about having a big chest. As Mike says, you need the back to stabilize your body into the bench. And obviously, it's more than just a chest. You need very strong triceps to lock out that weight.
My last bench session, my left pec got a little abused.
Now, Mike told me that he had bench pressed 4 days prior, that he'd been able to bench press 5 plates for 5 reps and 555 for 2. And so he was within striking distance of 585, but I still think that's a little bit more than he should have expected, especially with a slightly injured pec. It was just a little off. I've experienced this in the past many times, and when you feel that tweak, that slight thing that tells you something's a little off, you need to shut it down. When you're at your peak, when you're at your strongest, when things are going well, it's very difficult to not push yourself to failure and beyond, to perhaps go to level 3 and or level 4. 3 days prior, he had bench pressed 495 pounds for 5 reps. Now, at my best, I bench pressed 495 for 4 reps, although it was with a pause. Touch and go, as you know, it's more dangerous than with a pause. When you pause the weight, you're less likely to get injured. Also, touch and go, you can lift a little bit more weight. Now remember, I have never been in my life close to bench pressing 585 pounds. And so when I used to bench press to that extent, it would take me a good 5 days before I could repeat it. And so with only 3 days rest, I don't think he was at his 100%. It takes time for the muscles, tendons, ligaments to be fully prepared to give it their 100% yet again. And so perhaps he'd rested 1 or 2 days longer. Perhaps with a little bit more rest, he would have been able to perform. Chris bench pressing 550 pounds, that is more than my all-time best. Remember, they're only 23 years of age. Plenty of time to go for that 585 or 600. There's no reason to rush this. They just finished a bodybuilding competition. It's only been a matter of months. And so it takes time to gain that strength and cement it, to ensure that the tendons, ligaments, everything is fully repaired and prepared to push that kind of weight. And previously, 3 days prior to that, he'd failed with 585 pounds. It didn't appear close, and so there was no reason to put on that weight. A good rule of thumb is do not put anything that you're not certain that you can lift. Remember, it's not a powerlifting competition. This is just training in the gym. You shouldn't put putting weights in the gym that you're going to bench press that you're not 100% certain you can lift. It's different than if it's something like a deadlift. If it's a deadlift and you can't lift a weight, it just sits on the floor. But if it's a bench press and you can't lift it, well, a lot of bad things can happen even with a spotter. Oh, fuck! And notice the spotters in this video. There are 2 spotters, one behind and one to one side of the bench. That is a recipe for disaster. If the spotter on one side lifts the weight up and it presses it to the other side, that can in fact tear a muscle. That is not something you should do. And so if you want to have a spotter, please have the person on the back and one on either side of the bench press. And notice he has not 1 but 2 arm sleeves on his arm. That is giving him extra strength in order to do the bench press. Remember, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so if you're wrapping your elbows with not just 1 but 2 elbow sleeves, it's going to make your arms that much stronger. They're going to be able to withstand more weight, but perhaps at the expense of your chest. If your elbows are getting that wrap, getting that tightness, you're going to be able to lift more weight, and that's going to put even more strain on your pectorals. And remember, with the green elbow sleeves around the wrist, it's going to make him that much stronger. It's essentially the same thing as wrapping up your knees. That's going to give him increased tightness and extra spring and allow him to bench press more weight than last time. My personal opinion, it'd be far greater to lift without those sleeves. Yeah, I get it. It helps you lift more weight. Perhaps it prevents some of the elbow pain that you're going to get. But at what cost? If you're too strong with those wraps, it could create a problem somewhere else. Pressing 550, it actually looked pretty good. It didn't look like the weight was slowing down. It does look like he had a lot more. And so if everything was running smoothly, if he didn't have any pre-existing injuries, he hadn't tweaked his chest at all, if he was feeling good, he most likely would have gotten that lift.
I pulled my chest up.
Coincidentally, in the lift prior, Chris had hit a 1 rep max and he says he pulled his chest. But notice he got lucky. He did not injure himself to that extent. He tweaked his chest a little bit, but he didn't get to the point of actually pulling or tearing a muscle.
I'm using all tricep right now. I'm trying to change my form.
And so you can hear Mike say, I'm going to change my form. I'm going to use all tricep. Could that be because he's experiencing some slight pain in his pecs? When you're going for a 1 rep max, the most weight you've ever lifted in your entire life, you shouldn't be using new form. It should be something that you've practiced for years. Changing your form, using more triceps, less of this, more of that, on your maximum bench of all time. This is not the time to experiment with new lifting techniques.
Come on.
Thankfully, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 spotters. A very intelligent move that most likely prevented further damage. Imagine he'd only had 1 spotter, or God forbid, none. Once the pec started to tear, he was able to stop pressing immediately. If he had to continue pressing, perhaps it would tear the pec completely right off the bone.
Come on. Oh, fuck. No. Just fucking rip that. No. Fuck.
How you feeling, man?
Like,
I feel like shit. I just want some crumble cookies right now.
In the hospital, obviously he's not feeling good. He's hoping for crumble cookies to ease the pain, perhaps a Latina woman, wondering what am I going to be doing for the next several months?
Only thing that would kill me, maybe a 5'2" Latina.
Clearly, a 5'2" Latina woman would certainly be of assistance. She could perhaps wipe his derriere, could cook him some recipes, perhaps from the cookbook. Perhaps she could cook him some healthier recipes than last time, less crumble cookie, and more delicious recipes than last time. You know what it's from my frigging cookbook.
What a day, man. On the way down
finally
to
got home. 6:30 in the morning.
Clearly not the 6:30 in the morning that he was hoping for. He would have hoped to have come back from an amazing 585-pound bench press. But here's the thing. Let's say he did in fact get that bench press, that everything went according to plan. Do you think that that would have been enough? We've heard it at the start of the video. Before he dies, he wanted to bench press 600. Do you not think he would have then went for 600 pounds? And let's say he went for 600. Do you really think he would have been satisfied? He's bench pressing 600 pounds. He's 23 years of age. You don't think he would have wanted 625? And so my personal opinion is that this unfortunate accident hadn't happened right now, it would have happened perhaps in another week, another month, another year. And perhaps at that time, it would have happened with far more weight. perhaps 650 pounds, perhaps 700. And at that time, with more muscle and more mass, the injury could have been far worse. And of course, we're looking at it from a negative standpoint right now. But what if this injury prevented something far worse? Perhaps a more devastating pec tear that would have happened in several months or perhaps years from right now. The good news is he's very young, he's in shape, he's fit, and he knows a lot about the various peptides. He's been talking to a number of athletes, for example, Kevin Levrone, who also had a devastating accident when he was 24, only far worse. Kevin Levrone had tore his pec 24 years of age, and how did he end up doing? He was a top IFBB pro competing at the Olympia. And so this is not the end of Mike. He can come back from this. Of course, he has to do it more slowly, more cautiously, but he can once again, in time, come back and bench press over 600 pounds.
He went to win 23 shows after that.
And so Mike says Kevin Levrone went on to win 23 bodybuilding competitions following that pec tear. And so this is not the end of Mike.
I think I just got too strong, too quick after prep. And my tendons couldn't keep up with it.
Mike knows exactly what happened. He got too strong, too quick. His tendons couldn't keep up. The tendon, it partially tore off the bone. He simply was too strong for his own good. Now remember, my best advice, and I'm using this as an opportunity to help educate, is following a bodybuilding competition. If you are in fact using and or abusing performance enhancing drugs, that is the time to come off. Oftentimes we're tempted to extend the cycle. We know that if we keep eating all kinds of food, we're going to gain more muscle, more strength than ever before. But that is not the time. After a show, it's the time to go off, to get healthy, to stop using and abusing performance-enhancing drugs and get your diet back to normal, your body fat percentage back to normal, your body back to being healthy. Bodybuilding, it's inherently not healthy. And so following a competition, rather than continuing a cycle, please go off. Start eating more, being healthy, and returning back to baseline. And at that point, you can then decide, what am I going to do next? You're naturally going to get stronger despite the fact that you're off because you're going to be at an increased body weight. I was always stronger following a competition than I was leading up to a show, despite the fact that I always did in fact go off.
Yeah, and I think just all the scar tissue, muscle tightness built up around it.
As you're training, getting stronger, bench pressing over 500 pounds, you're slowly developing scar tissue.
And I wasn't getting body work done.
He wasn't getting massages, therapy, and so on. He wasn't taking care of himself. He was simply bulking, eating food, and getting hella strong.
And that's what I get for being lazy, not taking care of my body the right way.
And so he says, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I was getting a little bit lazy. I was taking my body for granted. And this is what resulted. And so please don't copy what he's doing. He's making this video to warn the world. Be careful. You can't just eat, use performance-enhancing drugs, and bench press crazy amounts of weight without eventually something going wrong.
Best cookie ever. I still think crumble's better.
And when I'm thinking of the best cookie ever, it's certainly not going to be a crumble cookie. I'm thinking of a different kind of cookie after all.
And Shami's got better cookies. I compare crumble to things.
I'm thinking of a different kind of cookie, and it's not something from crumble.
Gonna work out the right side of my body and my legs.
Hey, man. You might as well become the best squatter in the world now.
And so Mike says, look, I'm not giving up. I'm going to be training the right side of my body and my legs. Exactly what I would be doing. And so you can't give up. You can't throw in the towel. You can't think, oh, I'm injured. I tore a pec. I'm just going to stay at home and eat crumble cookies. It's not the attitude. You need to keep going to the gym and putting in the work, doing all the rehabilitation, listening to the doctors, and healing quicker than friggin' last time.
We're going to hit legs tomorrow.
For what that one motherfucker
say? We 3 steps ahead, bro.
And so they're talking about being 3 steps ahead. He felt he was 2 steps ahead. Bench pressing, bulking, benching, abusing gear. But what happened is, following an injury, he's now 3 steps behind. And so, hindsight, it's 2020. Had he have taken his time, added on more muscle more slowly, had a slower bulk, he perhaps would have bench pressed 585 pounds, but it would have taken him another couple of months. And so please, take your time. There is no hurry. You have your whole lives ahead of you. You don't need to bench press 585 today. And remember, 1 pound more than your best, that is in fact a PR. There's no rush. You don't need to get your dream physique tomorrow. And what's more important is the journey. So long as you're making improvements, training, it's going to be fun. But when you start to abuse steroids, putting on more muscle and more strength than ever before, your expectations, they're not going to align with your abilities. And before you know it, you're bench pressing weights that you shouldn't be bench pressing for years. The body was not made to do these lifts. It takes time. And so please be more cautious than last time.
Yeah, I'm about to get shredded right now. Since I can't get any mass, I might as well just get shredded.
And so Mike's plans now, rather than continuing the bulk, why not go on a cut? There's no point in bulking at this point. What use would it be? And so why not eat healthier than last time? Get his body healed up, eat healthy, get off of the performance-enhancing drugs, and start using peptides, namely TB500 and BPC157. Perhaps he's also going to use growth hormone. And I'm certain with the help of these peptides, also known as the Wolverine stack, he's going to heal up faster than ever before.
Modern medicine, peptides and shit, and a good surgeon, I'll be back to lifting.
Remember, if you're interested in getting peptides, I partnered up with Tren. Click the link in the description.
Start doing my cardio again.
Please continue to do cardio. It's very important for your heart health. Interested in natural supplements, consider Turk Builder and GO2 Max. These are not banned by WADA. You can use it in drug-tested sporting competitions. And so if you're interested in these, code Greg 15% off. And don't forget, there's a money-back guarantee. Many companies who are saying they're selling testosterone, they actually aren't. And so it's created a problem. People doing research, testing testosterone and saying, oh, it didn't work. Meanwhile, they have fake testosterone, perhaps from China. Rather than the quality testosterone that HDLT Supplements has, as you know from Uzbekistan, many people are getting it from China. And so if you're interested in the best testosterone, quality testosterone, with third-party lab tests proving it's testosterone, purchase from HDLT Supplements, code Greg 15% off. Click the link in the description.
Shit, Kevin LeBron, he was about 24. I actually talked to him, and he gave me a lot of fucking inspiration.
And so after talking to Kevin LeBron, who also could bench press about 600 pounds, he realized, look, I can still do this. I can recover from this. He says, I got too heavy, I was too strong, I was training incorrectly, but I'm young and I'm learning from my mistakes, and I am going to do better. He's going to train smarter, he's going to do it properly, and he is going to come back.
I need to train smarter. Maybe I shouldn't have been this heavy. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to gain so much weight and fucking strength so fast, and just got to realize that shit isn't a sprint, bro. It's a fucking marathon, and you really got to soak it up like life, and I was just moving too fast, bro.
Exactly. He didn't need to bench press 585 pounds right now. He had his entire winter arc to make all of those gains. And so please take your time.
I think it's just a wake-up call from God and shit, and just tell me to slow down.
And so perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. He needed to slow down. He was getting too aggressive. He was going after things too quickly. And so this will perhaps humble him just a little bit and allow him to make the smarter, proper decisions that are best made for his future career. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Watch one of those 2 bloops. And of course, the cookbook, the training book, the Circle Diet book, you can get all this on my website. And if you have no money, get the free diet and training program. Remember, it's free. It's close to 50 pages. There are several of them depending on your calorie needs. Get to the website, and until next time, I am out.